This week's Star Power winners for kindergarten is Camden in Miss Zajeski's class, Jason in Mrs. Antonini's class, Payson in Mrs. Bowman's class, Cameron in Mrs. B's class, Demetrius in Mrs. Griesmer's class, Angelina in Mrs. Groth's class, Kevin in Mrs. Newman's class, Austin in Miss Pace's class, Caton in Mrs. Pigliavento's class, and Liliana in Mrs. Weinlein's class. Congratulations, kindergartners! In first grade, we have Talon in Mrs. Urbanski's class, Dawton in Mrs. Dennis's class, Anna in Mrs. Filarecki's class, Adriana in Mrs. Hurst's class, Maggie in Mrs. Masick's class, Christian R. in Miss Paleshi's class, Soraya in Miss Schluti's class, Tommy in Mrs. Verano's class, Adriana in Mrs. Yates' class, and Aiden in Mrs. Ferraro's class. For our second grade winners, we have Amani in Miss Rao's class, Ashley in Mrs. D'Agostino's class, Caleb in Miss Deo's class, Olivia in Miss Hackett's class, Gavin in Miss Halverson's class, Aubrey in Miss McCabe's class, Thomas in Miss McDuffie's class, Charlie in Miss McGuire's class, Holden in Miss Mosier's class, and Carmine in Miss J. Paleshi's class. Last but not least, this week's class winners are kindergarten Mrs. Brousseau, first grade Mrs. Verano, and in second grade Mrs. Hackett. Keep up the great work, boys and girls.